So I'm getting sued by Chase Bank.
Who would have thought that credit cards are suing people now for an old debt? That's never happened.
All right, guys, come with me to get sued. Yeah, we're getting ready. We're already ready. Do I look like suable?
Okay, so similar to the last video that I uploaded on this channel, I'm pretty under the weather while recording this. So if I do sound a little off, that's the reason why. But today we're going to be taking a look at some people getting sued over their credit card debt. I feel like there are many people out there who think that they could just keep kicking the can down the road when it comes to paying their credit card, and it'll end up with companies getting tired and frustrated. They'll either settle for something significantly less or completely cut their losses, especially when the balances aren't that high, at least in comparison to some of the people we've seen on this channel. But that's just not the case. More and more people are being taken to court because of this every day, whether you owe tens of thousands of dollars or maybe just a couple $100. We have a lot to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start this video with someone who did not know that this happens.
What's up, guys? So let me give y'all a story time about what happened today. So I'm home just chilling this morning, drinking my coffee. All of a sudden I get a knock on the door, and it's the sheriff from the courthouse that came here to serve me some paperwork because Credit One is suing me for an old debt from 2021. Who would have thought that credit cards are suing people now for an old debt? That's never happened before, to me at least. And I literally got served, and they're telling me I have 30 days to get in contact with them and try to make an arrangement. Now, let me know who has that happened to, or who's ever heard of that, because this is the first time I ever hear about a credit card company suing anyone, like, especially from like 2021.
Okay, she's making it sound like 2021 was like 30 years ago. It's only 4 years. The debt is not that old. And what did you think was going to happen if you didn't pay off the card? It would just go to collections one day, you take a credit hit, and it would just disappear off the face of the earth? Let alone the fact that Credit One is probably one of the worst credit card companies on the planet. I'm not surprised whatsoever that they're taking you to court. I just thought it was funny that she didn't even believe that this happens. And some of the comments, yes, this absolutely happens. I'm currently paying back 3 cards and got served 2. Don't ignore it. I feel like it's still fairly new. Yes, only a couple years, happens all the time. We'll see some of the consequences of people ignoring it later in the video. We also have a comment from one of you guys right here. My friend had a roommate who thought all you owed was just the minimum payments every month, no matter how much you spent on your credit card. This was a college graduate. So we could see how rough the financial literacy is for a lot of people out there. Don't really know what to say about that one, but we'll just move on to the next clip with a crash out.
Discover, count your days. Count your mother days. Y'all sued me for a credit card that you gave me 10 years ago, and you gave me a $10,000 credit limit at 21 years old. Okay? So you sued me. I get it. I didn't pay it back. That was my fault. I fell on hard times, okay? I had a lot of shit I went through, okay? So I didn't pay him. Y'all sued me. I tried to work with the lawyer and say, hey, I can only afford $50 a month. Okay, I can only afford $50 a month. Like, literally, I work 3 jobs. I do DoorDash. I don't know. What else you want from me? They said, no, 160. And I was like, well, no, I can't afford that. And then they said, oh, well, can you borrow money from someone? No, if I could borrow money from someone, I would, and I would give it to you. Trust me, I'm not trying to say I didn't do it, but I don't have the money. I don't have it. Okay, so y'all sued me, and I got a letter because the judge ruled in favor of them, obviously. But I got a letter, and the letter pretty much says, hey, so you gotta pay this, and there's gonna be interest on it until it's paid in full.
So this entire situation just got worse. I would like to add on the possibility of her also having to pay attorney's fees along with the interest and everything that she owed initially, but I did think it was funny that she was angry that she got a $10,000 credit limit at 21 years old, and that's supposed to be the fault of the credit card company that gave it to her. I guess there wasn't any responsibility on her end to not max it out, but we could go over to the comments. Discover is ruthless. I'm dealing with almost the same thing. I remember several other examples from older videos saying basically that as well. None of these credit card companies are messing around anymore. Another comment from you guys, the craziest thing about these videos is how willing everyone is to share deeply concerning financial issues. And I definitely understand that, but hopefully these types of videos are some sort of scared straight for anybody out there watching. Maybe they don't have the financial knowledge. It's not like they're purposely trying to crash their finances. They just never learned in the first place. And if you keep seeing horror story after horror story like this, hopefully you'll take a very different path in life. I mean, here we have another example of somebody getting roped into this when they didn't even spend all the money on their cards.
So now I'm at Mills Plus. I've got to fax some paperwork to the magistrate court because a certain someone had me take out a bunch of credit cards, promised to pay them. My credit score was like at a 700 and now it's like, I believe at a 400 and something maybe. But so yeah, someone's trying to sue me, so I have to go to court. So here we are, Mills Plus. Let's get this faxed.
So this is like co-signing on a car loan with somebody who is not financially responsible. And because you put your name on the dotted line, you took out those credit cards for someone else who just said that they were going to pay it back. Now you personally are on the hook for all of that money and you're getting sued. I don't know, that just seems like a wild choice to me, but we can move on.
Capital One will take you to court. Guys, Capital One is known one of the biggest credit card companies that will take you to court, and this happens when you take too long to pay a collection. The reason this happens is the client will get multiple collection letter companies from the third party, and when they don't respond after a few months or years, they end up taking the client to court. Now, how do you stop this? The best way to do this is once you get a pre-trial letter from that company, you want to call and negotiate for 50% of the amount due. This is going to help you save money and also requesting a pay per delete.
Now this could go different for everybody trying to negotiate down your payments. We already saw earlier with the woman trying to pay $50 a month and they wanted $150, so they did take her to court and she ended up losing and the whole situation got a lot worse. But this kind of stuff does take time as well, a few years. So maybe you think you'll get away with it just like some of the comment section does, but eventually they're going to come for their money no matter how big or small it is. I owed them $800 for 6 years and haven't heard from them. I owe them $200. Will they take it to court? Yes, they will for that small amount. We will see in a little bit why. I owed them $900 for 10 years, never paid, laughing emoji. I'll never forget I had the sheriff serving me. Another experience here from you guys. My late mother was sued by several credit cards back in the 90s for non-payments. It was close to 6 figures in debt 30 years ago, so that's a lot more money in today's world. She refused to make a payment plan. She would just throw the letters away, ignoring it. Makes it all worse. Eventually they took her to court and put a lien on her house. It took almost 2 decades for my mother to pay them back. You just lost so much of your life paying back all of those debts. Wow.
All right, guys, come with me to get sued. Yeah, we're getting ready. We're already ready. Do I look like suable? I don't know. I didn't do nothing wrong. I just didn't pay my credit card for like 2 years. It's currently 8:45. I get sued at 9:30. So let's go. All right, guys. So I have to surrender myself by the end of the day. I'm going to jail for 6 months. Just kidding. It's really like no light, bro. Capital One just went nuts on everybody in Milwaukee. There was like 20 people there, and they were all from Capital One. We gotta do better with credit cards. Stop giving us credit cards, please.
Again, shifting the blame onto the credit card companies even though you applied for it. And I know this makes it sound like I'm secretly sponsored by some of these credit cards, which I know how predatory and awful they could be with 20 or 30% interest rates. While you're paying down your debts, you'll actively be getting credit line increases to incentivize you to buy more. It can be a brutal situation, but still, you have to have some sort of self-discipline or responsibility to yourself to not ruin your life financially like this. And another example of Capital One not messing around. Everybody in that court all had the same situation. They were all getting sued for their debt. Capital One did that to me. I didn't pay for about 5 months and they started garnishing my wages for $1,500. Then when it was paid, they sent me another offer for a higher credit limit. That's what I was just talking about. No way you're getting sued for credit card payments. Just pay the bare minimum due until February and then use your taxes on them. Even when you pay the minimum payments, the interest gets worse every single month. and hopefully your tax return will be enough to pay the overall balance. If not, you're just in a never-ending cycle. Another comment here, these people have a problem beyond needing to be financially re-educated. How can anyone think it's okay to take out tens of thousands of dollars without ever needing to pay it back? There's definitely a different thought process with swiping or tapping a credit card compared to legitimately going to a bank and taking out a loan. That seems a lot more serious to people compared to just buying stuff constantly online, putting in a couple numbers or swiping, and then you get whatever item or product you bought and you just do it over and over again. It's not that serious until they take you to court. A clip up on screen right now, I'm getting sued by a credit card company and have court tomorrow. I'm poor. Any tips? And when you go over to the comment section, can I ask you what credit card company it was? TJ Maxx credit card. So just another example of why I say this kind of stuff over and over again, especially with overconsumption. You go to Best Buy or TJ Maxx, really any of these stores, and they all have credit cards that you could open that they'll try to sell you on when you're at the cashier, especially if it's a larger purchase. Maybe you'll get an extra 10% off or triple the amount of points, something like that, right? All you got to do is take out the TJ Maxx credit card or the Best Buy one. You'll get extra points shopping here with the card also, and then you do that week after week, racking up the balance. And then unfortunately it snowballs so much that you get into this situation, and all those TJ Maxx fines don't seem too worth it in the end. But there are many people who believe that these credit card companies wouldn't care if you have a few hundred or maybe $1,000 or so racked up, because that's not a lot of money to them. These are huge conglomerates that make millions or billions of dollars. So they're not going to deal with small fish like you and take you to court, but that's not true either. We have a comment and a clip that goes along with this. I work in a law office where these are the majority of the cases we deal with. There are so many cases like this that we send over 200 letters alerting people that they're being sued for their debt on a daily basis. And this clip backs up that claim as well.
People always ask me, how can my creditor afford to pay an attorney hourly to sue me for a debt that's under $1,000? And what I tell them is, it's because most of these law firms are mills who work on volume, don't charge an hourly fee, but instead are simply compensated a percentage of the amount they collect from you. These debt collection mills file as many lawsuits as possible on behalf of large credit card companies such as Discover, Capital One, and Citibank. Like any industry, you have pigs and you have hogs. Pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. One such hog was a place out of New York called Forrester and Garbus. This law firm filed 99,000 lawsuits over a 3-year period. If they worked every single weekday during that time, that would be 380 suits per day.
So maybe it's only a few $100s each, $500, possibly $1,000, but if they're doing almost 400 a day, even getting a small percentage of a return on that could be a crazy amount of money. So you think that it still might be petty to go after somebody for a few $100, but it's still worth it to them. And this comment goes well with that. It's only $1,000 when it's someone else's money. It's never only $1,000 when it's their money. So overall, it doesn't matter how big or small the debt is, they'll still go after you if they want. So this next example we have to break up into several parts because this is a very long, interesting story, but we'll just jump right into it.
So I'm getting sued by Chase Bank. I wish I was kidding. If you've been here a while through my campaign, you may remember this video.
I pull up my bank account app and my account is in the negatives, like hundreds of dollars in the negatives. I'm like, what happened? And there was a transaction from Chase Bank that I did not authorize, and they completely cleaned out my entire bank account.
So that video goes on to say that I was on the phone with Chase for 3 hours asking them what happened, if they can cancel the transaction. They said no, they can't cancel it because it's pending. They can't refund it, and there's nothing they can do. And this was on a Friday going into the weekend. They left me without any money, and I ended up having to borrow money from my mom and my brother.
Okay, so the first part of this clip to me sounds like somebody got into her account, right? Some scammer and took all of her money and she got completely screwed. That's what I was thinking initially, but that's just not the case. I'm gonna go back and forth to the comment section to add a little more context during this story because she had credit card debt. Why do you have such big credit card debt? She responds, $5,000 is big debt, question mark? I would personally say, yeah, $5,000 is a significant amount of money. I would believe that she would think that's a lot of money too, especially when we get later in the video. I used it for our honeymoon and have been paying it back for 2 years before I was between jobs. Okay. Okay, so keep that in your mind and we'll move on.
And I called Chase to let them know, like, hey, I don't have an income. I can't make the minimum due. Minimum due was like around $175. I was like, is there any way we can like extend out the due date until I get a job, or maybe I can make like half of a payment? And they were like, nope, this is what you do. You got to pay it by the due date, or you're going to hit late fees. Well, I couldn't give Chase what I didn't have. So I had to miss a few payments. And by the time I got a job, I went to go make a payment because I was making money now. And I see that my minimum due had over than doubled. And so I called Chase. I said, hey, I have a job now. Can we get my payments back to where they were? Because now it's like over almost $400. And they're like, nope, sorry. You have all these missed payments plus the late fees plus the interest that has accrued. This is what you owe, pay by the due date. I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay that much money. And again, they pretty much said, sorry, not sorry. You have to pay the money.
And this is why I think the credit card debt videos are so important. Many people still don't realize how fast the interest could start adding up and making everything worse. Even when she got a job and started to make some money, she was still falling behind. But again, we'll go over to the comment section. Who quits a job knowing they have financial responsibilities? She had a house, all the utility bills, everything that goes along with that they won't be able to meet without said job. So she ended up leaving without any sort of plan or money behind her. Not the best decision in my opinion, but we'll keep going.
And then July 19th happened and they just emptied my bank account to make my minimum due payment. And so like I had to shut down my whole bank account, open a fraud claim, get the money back, and open a whole new bank account because of this whole thing with Chase. Well, now here we are a year later and they are trying to serve me papers. They have not served me papers yet, but I found out today on the phone while I was trying to make a payment that they gave my account to this law firm to collect on their behalf. I offered them $2,000 today. I was like, can we settle for $2,000 today? I don't have $2,000. I just wanted to see if they would say yes. They said no, that their client would not accept that little amount when I owe $13,000. Mind you, I did not borrow $13,000. I did not spend $13,000. That is how much accrued from late fees and interest and me like not making the payments. This is where I asked for help. I know right now it's the government shutdown. People are about to lose SNAP benefits and it's the holidays. So I don't even know if anybody has anything that they can help with. But if you can help, I have a Cash App and Venmo in my bio, in my link tree.
Okay, so we're going to end the clip there. Several things to talk about. It seems like Chase went into her bank account and took all the money out to be able to start paying her credit cards back. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not. Seems like a pretty shady practice to me. However, I don't know what their terms and conditions are. Maybe you agreed to it with the 100 pages that nobody ever reads. Probably not the smartest thing to have your credit cards and bank account all in the same place. But still, quitting a job when you have a lot of financial responsibility along with debt from a previous honeymoon, and then on top of it asking for money online through Cash App. I mean, we could go to this comment asking for donations for credit card debt is really something. Sorry, but this is how credit cards work. You have to pay the money back. So this extra caveat I thought was particularly interesting. This is somebody with almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, who, if you heard earlier in the video, had a campaign. This is somebody, a former Tennessee state candidate. So this is somebody who wants to be in politics. I know how divisive that could be online, but I did think it was funny that somebody who didn't make the best financial decisions and then asked for money online wants to have a future career in politics. I just think that's rich. But we could go over to a comment from one of you guys that goes well with this. Don't pay your debt and then be incredibly surprised when creditors show up is peak intelligence. I don't know what a lot of these people expected, and I'm not trying to say that 100% of them are just going and buying designer and going on vacations, cars, whatever. There's an increasing amount of people that are getting into this trouble just trying to survive.
Asking for a friend, what happens when you get sued by a credit card company? What should you do? Should you get an attorney? Should you pay them back? Should you try to settle? Should you try to contact the credit card company? What happens if you owe other credit card companies? Should you try to figure out a payment arrangement even though you can't pay for anything right now? Bankruptcy is on the table. I will say that. I think there are so many Americans right now that are going through the same situation where they have to stop paying for their credit cards to use that money for groceries. Otherwise, you pay for your credit cards, but then you end up using that same credit card to pay for your groceries, so it's like a never-ending cycle. Then you also have to pay your mortgage, your rent, your bills, the utilities, things that absolutely need to be paid, daycare, groceries, gas.
And I would like to add to this, people using BNPL loans a lot as an alternative, even though you're basically using the same thing. Some people don't realize, but it's just another version of the credit card, especially if you don't pay. The 4 or 6 easy installments, you get behind on those, the interest starts accruing, and now it affects your credit score also. So I get it. If people are genuinely in a very tough situation, I'd rather be in debt and have groceries than be dead. But still, you have to know what you're getting into and be very careful, because you can be taken to court.
I got sued by American Express for a credit card that I never paid back. What should I do? I mean, pay it. You know, if you got sued for a debt that you actually recognize and accumulated, the best option is to not just ignore it, it's to pay it. You can reach out to the law firm or American Express and come to a payment plan with them in order to settle and satisfy the debt. Otherwise, if you ignore it, then you could potentially have it lead to a judgment, or even worse, a garnishment, where they're pulling the money out of your paycheck directly, and you don't have a choice in that matter anymore. So I recommend, again, if you happen to get sued on an account that you recognize, make sure to respond. You typically have 20 days to respond to a summons.
And now we could start talking about what happens when you start ignoring these debts. Some people believe that as soon as it gets sold to a debt collection agency, that you just don't have to pay anymore. They'll call you, maybe you block some numbers, and you could completely ignore it and nothing will happen. I had a debt collector call me at work earlier telling me they purchased a debt from a credit card company back in 2021, and it was now a total of $800. Can you make that payment today? No, and I won't. You bought the debt, so it's yours now, and hung up. That's the sentiment that I've seen pretty often. We'll go over to the comments. Yeah, I tried that. Guess what happened? A week later, a sheriff came to my door and handed me paperwork, sued me, and I ended up having to pay. They're going to sue you, talking from experience. I got served over a $1,700 Zales credit card debt. Some collectors will take you to court. I paid all my debts when I got out of nursing school because I'm not trying to be sued. They could sue you for it. In most cases, you signed off somewhere agreeing that the debt could be sold to a third-party collector. If they sue you, they could very easily win. We got some clips here also from very popular debt collectors talking about the same thing.
When debt collectors sue you, they actually don't want you to respond back to their court serving. As a matter of fact, they're counting on the fact that you will not respond, because they will win automatically by default at the court. Debt collectors like the ones up here will garnish your wages if you ignore debt lawsuits if you've been served by one of them. When you get served, you have to respond.
So this could be just as bad as the credit card companies. I just want people to be more aware of this kind of stuff.
Midland Credit will sue you. This right here is an official order to appear for a lawsuit that Midland Credit is filing against my client for a collection that she ignored. Once things get to this point, your options are not the same as if you were to just dispute your collections before they filed a lawsuit. These collection agencies' entire business model is to purchase your debt from the original creditor and then come after you with lawsuits in hopes to basically scare you into paying that money. But they're purchasing that debt without also receiving the ability to validate that debt. So if she would have just disputed this before it turned into a lawsuit, she would have a lot smaller of a headache on her hand. Now she either has to represent herself in court, or more realistically, because she's one of our clients, we're going to negotiate this to settle on her behalf. If you have collections from Midland Credit or any of the other guys, LVNV Funding, Portfolio Recovery, guys, they love to sue.
We could take a look at a comment from this video. X is being sued for a debt and it's under her name, but my social security and birthday. What can we do? It seems like you're roped into this one as well, like the earlier example. I have one, LOL. I think they said they'll sue me, but I ignored it. And keep getting calls. Yeah, keep doing that, even though everybody's telling you not to. Wonder what's gonna happen. Another comment from you guys here. Right out of college, I worked for a finance company, a retail credit card firm, and in hospital finance. I had to appear in court on behalf of companies suing debtors dozens of times. Never once did the debtor come out on top. I've had to do repossessions, had to track people down after disappearing for years, find out where they worked, and had their pay garnished. Take it from me, this is real. You cannot hide from it forever. I just want people to take this a lot more seriously than it seems like people are, especially from the comment section. But we could take a look at a couple examples of just wild situations on things that aren't 100% their fault.
Just served me for $31K debt that I owe them back from 2023. I beat cancer and I had to use my credit cards to survive. And they're finally coming after me. It's $31K. They just served me. Does anyone know what I do? What do I do? Please tell me.
Unfortunately, American Express is another one that does not joke around. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look like any of these credit card companies joke around whatsoever, but $31,000 in the hole to survive cancer. I know I made a video previously on insurance, and that brings in the healthcare system as well, how much of a joke it is, on top of how extremely expensive it is just to be able to save your own life. I owed them $25,000. They sent me a settlement letter for $10,000. AMEX doesn't play. I filed bankruptcy in 2000, and I'm still on their blacklist. They really hold a grudge. But we'll finish off this video with this clip.
Storytime on why I'm being sued. In 2020, I was on a Frontier Airlines flight, and they said, "Do you want a credit card?" And I was 18, and I said, "Yeah, I want a credit card," and they gave me one. Well, I was a freshman in college, and I quickly maxed out that credit card. I paid it for the first, 9 months, and then they were like, "You've got to do a security check." So I said, "Okay," and they said, "What's your social security number?" And I told them, and they said, "Wrong. Hun, that's the only one I've got." They wouldn't let me into my account. Didn't know the social security number that they had. They wrote it down wrong. I gave them my social security number. So I proceeded over the next few months, which I wasn't paying because I couldn't pay. I couldn't get into the account. They wouldn't let me pay or do anything. And I faxed them my social security number, my card, multiple times. And I would call and they'd be like, "We didn't get it." "Babe, who'd I send my social security card to then?" Finally, I talked to the collections agent and I was like, "Babe, they don't have my correct social security number. I can't pay." And she said, "Oh, well, I guess you're fine." And I didn't think about it for 2.5 years. Till recently, when I got a Credit Karma notification saying my credit had dropped 200 points. So basically they're suing because I haven't paid it, but I can't pay it. I'm not trying to get out of paying it. I'll pay it. I have no way to do that. So dumb.
I really don't know what to make of this. I feel like something is missing with this story. You can't be held liable if they don't have the correct social. How are they hitting your credit if they don't even have your social security number? Another person, how did your score drop if they didn't have your social security number correct? Make them prove it's your account. I know these credit card companies do a fair share of shady tactics as well, but either way, if you get into this kind of situation, it makes your life a living hell. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.